Lucky laugh. So I'm Chris. I am another internet person. I'm a little regretting that I didn't put a picture of me in a onesie up to demonstrate my internet cred, the way they built it. I don't have a Pikachu though, mine is a lemur. So, as mentioned, I work in Canva. So how many people here have ever heard of or used Canva? No, a few of you have. So Canva is an Australian startup democratizing graphic design. We are a design platform that allows everyone using a browser or an iPad to create really beautiful designs really simply. We've only been around for a short period of time, but just this past week we hit 6 million users, and we closed our Series A round of investment of 15 million US, so that was really big. You may have seen us on the project 2 weeks ago, which was super exciting for me because you can totally see the back of my head. Thrilling day. We've had stories in some of the major newspapers. I only joined back in June. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm absolutely loving it. Canva is a particularly good fit for me because it combines my two passions, tech and creativity. I've been working in tech for pretty much my entire career. I started out as a web developer building websites, and then I moved on to managing projects, and then eventually managing whole software teams. I don't really write code on a daily basis anymore, but I still like to get my hands dirty when I get a chance. I'm also one of the organizers for Girl Geek Sydney. Are there any Girl Geek Melbourne members in the house? I thought there was going to be at least one. Oh, come on. Well, you should totally join. It's a great organization. I'm really passionate about promoting tech as a career path for young women. But in my spare time, I like to be creative in ways that are a bit more tangible and hands-on. You are looking at a blue ribbon winner for my knitting at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. I sew a lot of my own clothes, not this though. And I have knitted QR codes into mittens. I've sewn Arduinos and LEDs onto cushions using conductive thread. I love to give talks and workshops. So this was from Ignite Sydney earlier in the year. It's a talk called Geeky Knitting. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out later. And I love inspiring people to make things that are new or useful or beautiful or interesting. So when I get a chance to work at a tech company that was all about creativity, I just jumped at it. Because my friends, I know the alternative. I have worked in some very big, very traditional corporates. Not naming any names, but some very big financial institutions, not this one, and broadcast television network. You know, those big traditional corporations tend to have an org chart that looks like a pyramid, you know, the one that looks like that. So each of those jobs, I would start off down here at the bottom, and I was so excited that I was going to do real, exciting, challenging work. I was going to prove myself that I was going to climb that ladder. But inevitably, by the end of the first week, I worked out that my job was mostly about getting approval and sign-off from sort of everybody else up the chain. I see people nodding. I never really had any view of our end customer. You know, I kind of just did what my boss told me to do. If they were happy up there, we were all kind of happy down here. Because in places like this, power and authority, they reside at the top and they flow down the chain. But crucially, this isn't the case everywhere. Increasingly, there are small businesses, right now mostly tech startups, I'll grant you, like Canva in Australia or Zappos and Medium in the US, that are rejecting that old pyramid structure in favor of something a little bit more organic. This is the one that Melanie Perkins, the co-founder of Canva, likes to show. So in this model, power and authority reside with the teams that are actually doing the work. And these teams, they change and they form on like a weekly basis, depending on the work that needs to get done. We all have the same view and the same goal, to delight our customer and to deliver value. So one day that might mean I'm setting up an email campaign to go out to 6 million people. And the next day I might be fixing a bug on the engineering blog. It meant that last night at midnight I was helping a developer on Slack troubleshoot something on the site. Just changes every day. And here's something else unusual. We don't have any managers at Canva. There are no managers, it's really weird. But it works. And I've never heard anyone there say, that's not my responsibility. I hate that. It's just really refreshing. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a big, big flip coming from the pyramid to this. And I know right now somebody there are thinking the exact same thing that I did 6 months ago when I was debating on taking a job.
What the hell do you put on your business card? It sounds stupid, I know, but I really struggled with this. I mean, all-rounder? What even is that? That's not a thing. What about LinkedIn? I can't put that on LinkedIn where people from my university will see it. Ugh, it's a whole headache. The fact is, people love job titles. They understand them. It's like a fixed "you are here" marker on that pyramid. The truth is, Most of us never actually have to deal with ambiguity in our jobs.
We see a job description, we apply for the job, we get it, and that's the job that we do. We follow the rule book. And to some extent, that means we trade variety and creativity for security, for knowing what we're supposed to do every day and where we fit in that pyramid. And guess what? That can suck. That can mean you can get stuck in a job where you're bored or unappreciated. You can end up measuring your worth based on your title or your salary or your power instead of the value and the passion that you bring to the organization. So right here today in front of you, and I'm going to get loud here, I want to say, death to the tyranny of the business card. Down with LinkedIn and their stupid headlines. I think we should all go home today and check out the titles. And I want you all to come join me in Startup Land, where we work in autocratic, democratic, holocratic startups, where we get free lunch with a side of self-fulfillment. Who is with me? Yeah? Yeah. No, I'm not, oops, oh, too far. I'm not actually saying that. I am not, in fact, one of those startup douches that Will was talking about this morning. Seriously, I get that not every big company is necessarily soul-killing. You know, they weren't all bad. There are people here from big corporations who are obviously doing it right. And also, I realize not everybody can chuck their job and go work in a startup, or even is suited to it. I get that. But I do think that we all deserve to have a job where we're challenged, where we get to be creative, and where we get to be appreciated. And you can have that even if you work in one of the big organizations. So now, spoiler, this is Guy Kawasaki. I've been lucky enough to meet him on a couple of occasions. He's Canada's chief evangelist, but he's more famously the chief evangelist for Steve Jobs for the Macintosh. Now, Guy has written a lot of books on innovation and disruption, and he's got a really great blog post with advice for entrepreneurs. I've stolen some of that here. He calls entrepreneurs those visionaries working to revolutionize established companies and roles from within. So I'm going to talk you through 3 pieces of his advice for entrepreneurs that I found particularly relevant to me in my own career. First one is to kill the cash cows. Guy means that you shouldn't be afraid to check out something profitable in favor of something that might pay off better down the track. You can see this play out with the fact that, like, Apple will kill a product that's actually performing quite well in order to get the next thing that's coming down the track. For us personally, to me, this is all about that human fear we have of fearing change, of wanting to minimize risk and keep everything safe. So the example for me is in the last job that I had as a software developer. I knew I wasn't happy anymore writing software to sell ringtones to teenagers. This was a while ago, I might add. But there were parts of my job that I did like. I liked talking to customers. I liked writing documentation and leading training workshops. And I noticed that lots of the other web developers didn't like doing that stuff. And I started to think that maybe there was another career path in there for me. Maybe there was something that I would enjoy doing more. But I couldn't kill the cow. Like, I was comfortable. I had a good salary, pretty cushy job. Why would I throw that away, you know? Luckily, I got made redundant, and that solved the problem for me. I got a new job on that new path as a business analyst 2 days later. But I wouldn't have been able to make that transition if I hadn't started laying the groundwork. So you should always, no matter where you work, no matter what the job is, seek to work beyond your job description. Always try and get new skills, try and have new ideas that might pay off down the track. You can't rely on that cow forever. The next one is to anticipate tectonic shifts and jump on them. Guy says that deformations in a company can be a really good thing for entrepreneurs. So by deformation, it could be something external. It could be a change in the marketplace. Or it could be something internal, like a new CEO gets hired, or there's a restructuring. Guy says you should do your best to anticipate these events and jump on them, take advantage of them. You know, when the big change happens, you want to be the person going, okay, cool, here's what I think we should do, rather than, whoa, did anybody else see that coming? Hey. So for me, I learned that lesson with the redundancy. I started to pay attention. So fast forward a few years later, I was working as a software project manager on a software team. And I realized that the market was right, that my company logically would probably spin up a new product team. And the person to lead that team was most logically going to be my manager, my boss. Like, he was clearly not my nose to anything for the job. So I thought, all right, well, maybe when the day comes, maybe I could make a case for stepping into his role, you know? So I decided to make that happen. I started taking on more responsibilities. I started working beyond my job description. You know, I started putting my hands up in meetings with the big executives were there, trying to get noticed. I wanted to make myself an inevitability, so when the day came, it would be like, well, obviously Chris should have a job, right? So then the day did come, and I found myself in a meeting room with the CIO, and she offered to promote me above him. That was a really, really big leap on the management ladder. And I went, yes, please. But I wouldn't have been ready if I hadn't paid attention. If you look around, you can take advantage of opportunities that blindside other people. And my favorite one, the last one, is to reboot your brain. If you work in one of those big pyramid companies, you get used to following the rule book. I think this ties to what Sarah was talking about, it ties to what Will was talking about. You know, you plan everything really carefully. You want to do it perfectly. You test it all, you get the right approvals and sign-offs before you release anything to the public. Guy says you need to chuck that rule book out the window and think like an entrepreneur. Move fast, ship fast, fail fast, learn fast, and adapt. And this is going to be the hardest thing for you to do because it goes against everything you've learned in your career. But in a nutshell, this is actually how I got the job at Canva. I went to a tech event like 6 months ago in Sydney, and I met the Canva founder, Cliff, then. And I just connected with him. I was looking to maybe host a Girl Geek event there, offices, get some sponsorship. And when I looked him up on LinkedIn, I could see we had a connection common, and it was my husband, who doesn't connect anyway. What's this about? He said, oh right, that guy, he's from this really hot startup, and he keeps trying to coach me as an engineer. And I went, huh. So I looked them up, and they weren't offering any non-engineering roles. So I was disappointed, and I could have just left it there. But instead, I took a deep breath, and I sent Cliff the single cockiest email I've ever sent anyone in my entire life. I said, my husband tells me you're trying to coach him. I gotta say, you're chasing the wrong person in the family. And his response was, oh, well maybe you should come have coffee with us. So reboot your brain. Don't be afraid to be disruptive. It can pay off. And that's how I ended up with these crazy people. This was our $4 million Schnitzel celebration. We just had $6 million yesterday. I get to work in a job that changes every day. I get to be creative and appreciated, utilize my skills on a technology platform that allows people to be creative and design beautiful things. It's fantastic. So just recap very quickly. So kill those cash cows. Don't rely on them. Don't rely on something that's been profitable to still be profitable forever. Anticipate those big tectonic shifts. If you see it, jump on it. You can turn upheaval into opportunity. And lastly, reboot your brain. Don't be afraid to be a little disruptive every now and then. It can pay off. Now going back to that business card, I kind of gave up stressing out about it. I ended up putting developer relations, because I mainly just hand them out at tech events. You know, it doesn't mean anything internally, it's external. But my LinkedIn headline, I get a little bit more creative. I highly recommend this website, the Silicon Valley Title Generator. It's really good. So I recently added coordination of the engineering teams to my daily duties. So this month I've gone with collaboration superintendent. Sounds very cool. Who knows what I'll be next month?